Please be with us as we go up and down the streets on a daily basis, as it can be very trying on a daily basis. Please be with those who are lost and sick and who need to find a way through you and your Son, Jesus Christ. Please be with us as we make decisions and help the citizens of the town, make a better life for them. We ask these things in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. Next up is the approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Move to approve. Second.
All right. Got a first and a second. Any discussion before we move to vote? All right. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agendas, we've got several public hearings that we're going to go through tonight. Item A is annexation petition 2022-2 Youngsville ABC Board, Tarboro Road. I will go ahead and open the hearing to the public as of 7:01 and turn things over to Ms. Klinger for staff report.
This is for the new ABC store that's going to go in over off of Tarboro Road near the intersection of Cedar Creek.
Okay. So having heard that, we'll go ahead and open up to comments from the public. Do we have anyone in attendance who would like to make a public comment in regards to the annexation petition for the Youngsville ABC Board? All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and close that public hearing as of 7:02 and move into item B, which is amendments to the Youngsville Development Ordinance, Section 5.3-3B2, method of procedure for mailed notice of zoning map amendments. I will open the hearing to the public as of 7:02 and turn it over for a staff report.
So within the past several months, as you guys know, a number of rezonings have been brought before the town, comprising a large amount of staff time and resources to send the required notices. The amendments will modify the notification requirements for zoning map amendments from 500 feet to 100 feet on all sides of the subject property. And for all the amendments, the planning board voted unanimously to recommend approval of them, and staff recommends approval as well.
Okay, thank you for that. Having heard the staff report, I will go ahead and open up to comments from the public. Do we have any public comments on item B? All right, hearing none, I'll go ahead and close the hearing as of 7:03. We'll move into item C, amendments to the Youngsville Development Ordinance, sections 9.4-2, multifamily lot type standards, and section 9.4-3, multifamily building type standards. Open that hearing up to the public again as of 7:03 and turn things over for staff report.
The staff is recommending that the town revise the standards regulating the lot and building type appearance of multifamily buildings. And so the proposed amendments modify the current lot and building type standards for such facilities.
Okay, thank you for that. And having heard that staff report, I'll go ahead and open up to comments from the public. Do we have anyone in attendance who would like to make a public comment? All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and close that hearing as of 7:04 and move along into item D, which is amendments to the Youngsville Development Ordinance, section 7.16-5, transportation impact analysis, pre-application conference. I will open that hearing to the public as of 7:04 and turn things over for a staff report.
So there's been some confusion recently regarding when in the submittal process the TIA is due. The amendments just clarify the due date for administrative, legislative, and quasi-judicial decisions.
Okay, and thank you for that. Having heard the staff report, I will open it up to comments from the public. Do we have anyone in attendance who would like to make a public comment in regards to item D? All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and close that hearing as of 7:05 and move along into item E, amendments to the Youngsville Development Ordinance, Article 3, definitions, section 17.2, applicability and purpose, section 17.5K, off-premises billboard signs, and section 17.7-1H, digitally changing signs. I will open that hearing to the public as of 7:05 and turn things over for a staff report.
The proposed amendments to Article 3 and Section 17.2 clarify to which portions of the town of Youngsville that the Article 17 applies. The amendments to section 17.5K specify that off-premise billboard signs shall be located no closer than 10,000 linear feet to any other off-premise billboard signs, and that they shall be permitted only on properties zoned vehicle services and repair or VSR. Finally, the amendments to 17.7-1H further establish that digitally changing signs can also only be located on properties zoned VSR.
Okay, and thank you for the staff report. I'll go ahead and turn things over and open it up for any comments from the public. Do we have any public comments related to item E? All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the hearing as of 7:06 and move along into item F, which is amendments to the Youngsville Development Ordinance to make the language for the town of Youngsville and its extraterritorial jurisdiction, ETJ, cohesive throughout the Youngsville Development Ordinance. I will open the hearing to the public as of 7:06 and turn things over once again for a staff report.
The language throughout the Youngsville Development Ordinance varied as to how it referred to the planning jurisdiction of the town of Youngsville. The proposed amendments, as Mayor Flowers said, just make the language cohesive in order to clarify that the town of Youngsville encompasses both the town proper and its ETJ.
Okay, and thank you once again, Ms. Klinger, for the staff report. Having heard that, I will open up to comments from the public. Is there anyone in attendance who would like to make a public comment in regards to item F? All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the hearing as of 7:07 and move along into citizens' comments. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone who emailed or called or signed up to give a public comment, citizens' comment?
No, sir.
Okay, is there anyone in attendance who wants to give a citizens' comment? All right, hearing none, we'll move along into the consent agenda. What is the pleasure of the board in regards to the consent agenda?
I would like to remove item I from the consent agenda.
Okay. All right, having heard that, any other questions, comments, or concerns in regards to making a motion to move forward with consent agenda items A through H? Okay, hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we've got a first and a second. Any discussion before we move to vote? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? All right, that motion carries. So what was pulled out, I guess we'll go ahead and address right now, so we don't have to add an additional item under 7, new business. Recommendation to Franklin County for ETJ Planning Board member Jacob Wilson. Commissioner Brame, did you have anything that you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to amend that motion to also recommend adding him to the Board of Adjustments.
Okay. All right, any additional discussion, questions, comments, concerns? Okay, so we'll entertain a motion on the recommendation to Franklin County for ETJ planning and adding to Board of Adjustment for member Jacob Wilson. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, got a first and a second. Any discussion before we move to vote? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries as well. Item 6, old business. A is amendments to the Youngsville Development Ordinance, section 5.3-3B2, method of procedure for mailed notice of zoning map amendments. The action requested here is to approve the amendments. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns from the commissioners?
In the staff report, you said that this was similar to neighboring towns, correct?
Yes, sir.
And how many did y'all have to send out that one time? 282?
Yeah, I was close to 300. It took me pretty much a whole day.
A lot of time, energy, and money. Yeah. Any other questions, comments, concerns from the commissioners?
What is the new?
I'm sorry,
If you're changing the old, what is the new?
to 100 feet instead of 500 feet.
And what does the state currently require?
Adjacent properties.
All right, well, the action requested here is to approve the amendments. If we don't have any additional questions or concerns, I'll open the floor for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we've got a first and a second. Any discussion before we move to vote? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? Motion carries. Item B is amendments to the Youngsville Development Ordinance, Section 9.4-2, multifamily lot type standards, and Section 9.4-3, multifamily building type standards. Action again requested here is to approve the amendments.
Make a motion to approve.
All right, we've got a first. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, we've got a first and a second. Any discussion before we move to vote? All right, hearing none. All in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Item C, amendments to the Youngsville Development Ordinance, Section 7.16-5, Transportation Impact Analysis, Pre-Application Conference. Again, the action requested here is to approve the amendments. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns prior to calling a vote? All right, hearing none. Do I hear a motion to approve the amendments?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, we've got a first and a second. Any discussion before we move to vote? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. And item D, annexation ordinance 2022-2, Youngsville ABC Board. The action requested here is to adopt annexation ordinance 2022-2. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns from the commissioners?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, we got a first and a second. Any discussion before we move to vote? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion also carried unanimously. Moving into item 7 on the agenda, new business, the comprehensive land use and transportation plan update. Mike Callahan with 3TP.
Hey, y'all.
Hello, hello.
I had no expectation I'd be standing up here at 7:12, but it's like a master class in efficiency.
You're welcome.
Robert's rules. That was really impressive. Well, good evening, everybody. A couple of you were here earlier, but my name is Mike Callahan. I'm with a firm called 3TP Ventures. We are a community planning consultancy based in Chapel Hill. And we are working under contract to the town to support you all in updating your comprehensive plan. And so tonight is really about kind of kicking off. I'm not going to be quite as efficient probably, but I'm going to do my best. We're going to want to hear a lot from you all, your ideas, your thoughts. We're going to have some questions, and we're going to also kind of explain a bit about the process and what we're going to be doing. A lot of the interaction you'll have with the comp plan is going to be with staff. We, the consulting team, will be working more with an advisory committee, and you have representation on that group. So I'm happy to be here tonight. I am going to see if this works. It does. First of all, thank you again for having us. Just go over what we hope to talk about during our next hour and 15 minutes or so. We'll give a little project overview. Kind of give you a sense of our schedule and our process. We had some engagement with the community back in October, 2 weeks ago, and we have some things we want to share and get your input to make sure we're on the right track. We also have a fun thing called Mentimeter that you all will be able to kind of do a little bit of prioritization voting type stuff so we can demonstrate that technology. We're going to be using a lot as we go along this project. And then we'll talk about the next steps. I should also say I'm joined by my colleague. Want to introduce yourself, Alan?
Hey, I'm Alan Steinbeck, Mike's partner in all of this, and I'll be helping with the plan throughout. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. All right, let me give a little overview of the project. What is the comprehensive land use and transportation plan? I'm sure you all have talked about it already, so you have a good sense of this, but really it's all about long-term visionary kind of guiding where the community wants to go and capturing that in a really clear, concise manner so that it supports you all in making decisions similar to decisions you're making here today. It's got two really key elements are a land use plan. That's all about what are the future areas for different types of land use in your community? What is appropriate for, say, mixed use or residential, or to preserve as open space? And also a transportation plan element. So what are the future connections that need to get made to support both future growth, but also to deal with issues you're already having today with transportation? And also, increasing opportunities for walking and biking. We heard a lot, we met with an advisory committee at 5 p.m. We heard a lot about water sewer issues in the community. That's a part of this as well. The final reason for doing this is simply that you have to. It's part of the North Carolina State Code to have zoning. You have to have a comprehensive plan. We're updating it now. We're not updating, we're helping you update it, I should say, for a lot of reasons. I think one is the tremendous growth pressure. I grew up in Wake County. I've seen this just unbelievable wave head up this direction. Wake Forest has gone from 10 to 30,000 people over the last 10 years, the last 2 census. So there's a lot of growth knocking at the door and already here, quite frankly. And so I think there's a sense the current plan needs to do more to give you guidance in terms of the decisions you make as they relate to development. Who's updating the plan? We're really facilitating. We're here to help. We bring a background and expertise in community planning. My background's in both land use and transportation planning, Alan's as well. But really, it's being managed by the town and town staff with our support. We also have 2 subcontractors with us, Tool Design Group out of Raleigh. They do transportation planning, and Motley Local, which does community engagement and economic development type work out of Greensboro. Community input is going to be critical. Good to see some community members here tonight. We had a lot of engagement with the community 2 weeks ago. That's going to be important as we go along. And then, ultimately, though, this is going to be the group that's going to make final decisions. Planning board recommends and the town board adopts. We have about a 12-month process. I think our target for adoption is next October. Of course, things can change, things come up, but that's what we're aiming for. We're right on pace right now. We're in phase 1, which we call listen and observe. That's really all about us not coming in with any preconceived notions, but hearing from the community as to what's important to them. December, January is going to be a lot of data analysis, kind of understanding what's happened, where the town's been. Forecasting potential population, the horizon year of this plan is 2050. So you're looking at almost a little over 25 years. Phase 3 will be early spring, and that's really a visioning. And what I see that as being is kind of creating a framework. Where is growth most appropriate? What is most appropriate to preserve? Where are the key connections we need to make? That kind of thing. Whereas phase 4 and 5 are about putting the plan together and getting it ultimately adopted. We are going to be, in the course of the project, helping the community to articulate some goals for the future. These are not it. These are goals about the project itself. And what do you want the plan to be? I think user-friendly, a lot of plans are not. They're jargon-rich. They're more written by planners for planners, and that is not the goal here. It's really to have a clear and accessible document that guides growth. So it really makes the decision-making easier, because I think you have a really clear roadmap, and then it's also achievable. It's not 500 projects and 1 million policies. It's really focused on what's most important for you all. Are there any other kind of project goals that maybe we left out or things that are important to you all? Okay, we'll keep going then. Please, always, if there's anything that needs to be relayed to us, Erin and I are in contact every single day. So please do, if something comes to you, write it down, share it with her. Before I kind of dive into things we've heard so far from the community, I just wanted to, I apologize to Commissioner Brame and also BJ. We went over this before, so, but it's kind of the same stuff, but I'm going to try to follow the mayor's lead and be more efficient with it. So some key planning considerations, and these are really just things that we as planners are thinking about and other people around the country are thinking about, and communities like yours are also thinking about as they set plans for their future. I think the first one is coordinated land use and transportation. This is absolutely critical. The plan is called a comprehensive land use and transportation plan. And I give the town credit for that because you have to do these things together. I think we can look around the Triangle region and see a lot of examples where these things weren't well coordinated, and now we have a lot of issues. I love the graphic on the right. There's a lot of different versions of it out there, but it's essentially on the bottom what we've been doing for 75 years, not in Youngsville, but everywhere, which is essentially spreading everything out and pushing everything onto one big road. And, look at North Raleigh, that's like all it is. And the problem there is really bad traffic congestion, and also it makes it hard to use any mode other than driving. You're lucky in that you're in a point in the town's growth and development where there's potential to get ahead of that and create a more connected street network that supports development, but also makes it easier to walk, easier to ride a bike, et cetera. And so we're going to look as we go through this project, we'll be looking at where different land uses go, the potential to mix land uses, build connected streets as ways of supporting growth without clogging everything up, right? People in planning kind of refer to this more traditional type of development as traditional neighborhood design. I like to point out in all the communities I work in, you pretty much already have good kind of connected walkable development in every city and town in North Carolina. It just is at your core. It's basically what you built before 1945. And so it's about the 9 to 12 blocks you have downtown. And most communities, everything outside of that has gone to that kind of dispersed pattern that really puts a lot of stress on just a few streets. A lot of communities are looking back to move forward and try to build a more connected, human scale, walkable type of environment as they grow. One thing this can do is allow for more density in a community without it really being overwhelming or making you feel like you're downtown Raleigh or something, right? I think there's going to be a lot of opinions on what is appropriate density. There always is, but bumping density up where appropriate can allow you to preserve more land as open space. If you're not spreading out as much, it can allow you to get more tax revenue on a per acre basis and have less driving in your community. And places that do this, look like this, towns that look like this. It's not high rise, it's not super intense. I could probably pull 1,000 photos in, but in the interest of time, I only pulled one. Another thing that's really, I would say, gaining steam in town planning all over the country is the notion of planning for the aging population and also for young people. So there's a movement called 880 communities, which is basically we should build towns and cities for people who are 8 and 80. Those people can't drive a car for the most part. They have maybe different housing needs, different community needs. And I think that if we think about those groups, we're going to really build places that are suitable to everybody. One fact that jumped out at me is that the over 85 population in North Carolina is expected to grow by 112% over the next 20 years. The under 18 population is expected to grow somewhere around 20 to 25% by comparison. Missing middle housing might be a topic you've heard of as well. I think one of the things that people have been recognizing is that historically we built a lot of different housing types: single family, detached, townhomes, small apartment buildings. Really, what mostly has been built in the Triangle for a long time now is single family, detached, and pretty large apartment buildings. And so the missing middle is the notion that there's a whole lot of other housing types that if they're built and they're designed well, can really enhance a community and give people more housing options. The typical housing price in Franklin County has skyrocketed, more than doubled in just about the last 7 years. Actually, was pulling this data yesterday. And so housing is becoming difficult to afford for a lot of people who maybe work as teachers, police officers, all kinds of professions. And so there's a chance to address that through new housing types. And then I think the last thing I just want to mention is designing with nature. One thing I've heard a lot from folks in Youngsville is how much they value the rural kind of landscape that surrounds the town, how they value the forests, the farms, and all of that. And I think that it's really important as we go through the plan that we help you all by looking at the land and where the different environmental features are that are important to people and are important to protect, so that we can kind of layer up those things and then see what is the area that's most suitable to develop and have a good sense of the relative ability to develop land and give you good recommendations as a result. Any questions, reactions to all that? I know I went through a lot, but I want to kind of summarize some of what we've heard next, but I want to pause and see if there's any questions or reactions.
So far, so good.
Okay, good. Look forward to a robust discussion at the end. I'll breeze through this then for you as well. I think this is really interesting. You know, some of this you're going to say, yeah, of course, Mike, tell me something I don't know. But the reality is we don't know it, and we don't ever want to presume we know it as people are trying to help you. And not only that, we've heard from a lot of people who maybe don't traditionally come out and say something. So we are going to summarize for you what we're hearing from people in terms of community assets. And the question we ask there is kind of what's a treasured place? What's something you love, something you value, you don't want to see it go away? Challenges and opportunities. So we came out, I put on my walking shoes, and we went all around town. Nathan gave a great tour. We had about 25 folks out there with us. We also had a community meeting. We had business roundtable discussion. We met with interest groups, Kiwanis and Sierra Club. We talked with a lot of people, and I'll give you a little summary of what we saw and what we learned. So the map up there on the wall, I'd encourage you to go take a look. At the end of the meeting, it's a working draft of assets in the community, and we will keep adding to it as long as we're working with you all. But this is the starting point. Things we heard. Examples are like Luddy Park. People love it. People love that park and the sports fields and the activities there. A lot of people have talked about loving kind of the forests, the undeveloped spaces and farms. The mix of businesses downtown, people really value that and love the local businesses on Main Street, and things like Hill Ridge Farms. And of course, the thing that's fueling all the growth pressure here is an asset itself, which is US 1 and this great access that you all have in this town to the rest of the triangle. But there's a lot of challenges. I'm not going to read this slide because I'm actually got one slide for each. Alan and I were joking earlier that I've never worked in a community, and I've been in 27 states and I've worked all over the place, and I've never been somewhere that didn't have a traffic and parking problem. And some of the times I'm like, I'm not sure if it's as bad as you think. And here I'm like, whoa, this is really bad. This is so we know and we see it and we felt it. And when we walked out there, we couldn't even hear each other talk. So you can imagine no one's going to want to eat outside at a cafe downtown when they can't hear their friends talking. So we know it's a problem. And I think one of the things we're trying to do is, okay, we got that one, what else? Because we need to be comprehensive with this plan. But we know there's a lot of issues, localized air pollution, noise, and all that downtown. And it gets back to that point I made about the lack of connectivity. That's a pinch point, everything funneling down to it. Lacking bike ped infrastructure. I was a little surprised, like even a block off, Persimmon, a block north, a block south, not having sidewalks. It is fairly easy to walk on those streets, but it was something that people told us mattered to them and they were concerned about. Downtown parking, I think that there is a good bit of parking on the street and behind the buildings, but a lot of it is not known or not very well delineated. Business owners were telling us that it's really difficult, and especially when there's events. I think there's a lot of opportunity to more clearly delineate and share parking in the downtown area. Keeping up with the growth, obviously, big issue here. The advisory committee was sharing with us issues with the water and the sewer, not the capacity, but actually getting it through the pipes. Roadways, parks, there's just a lot of needs that come with growth, and it's very challenging. You all have a daunting task in front of you trying to keep up with that. The S line, big, I've been watching this thing with interest for over a decade, and it sounds like there's a lot of momentum behind it. As you all know, the rail Richmond to Raleigh with potential commuter rail and stop here even potentially. This is an opportunity, but it's a challenge too, because it's going to close some street crossings when you already have a lack of connectivity. And so it's something that we really got to get ahead. And I think there's opportunity. All of these are also could be framed as an opportunity. Keeping revenue local. We had a great roundtable with local business owners downtown. And one of the things we heard was, we want more family stuff down here, family restaurant, maybe like some type of green or public space. We want things that are going to keep people here instead of driving down to Wake Forest or up to Franklinton to spend money. So that has been a challenge, and I think the traffic has made that worse. And then the final challenge I'll describe, again, what we heard from the public is limited housing options. I grew up in a lot like this, so I'm not putting it up there to criticize it. It's what a lot of people in the Triangle live in, but it's also not a lot of stock in other types of housing, which is really a challenge for people who are medium, even, moderate wage earners at this point to find a place to live. So that's the challenges. I like to focus on the opportunity because I think there's a ton of that. And some of these challenges I think are opportunities. One of them is you've got a wonderful downtown. Somebody on the walking tour was kind of disparaging the downtown a little. And I was thinking, this makes no sense to me. I mean, yes, the trucks are a problem. Yes, the noise is a problem. But you look at that map, you've got a framework, you've got a bone structure that could be something great. I really mean that. And I think investing in it is a big opportunity. Not only that, you're lucky some historic downtowns in North Carolina, I would argue probably most of them, have kind of hemmed themselves in with the more dispersed development patterns to the point they can't extend out their kind of downtown street block structure. You actually can do that, especially to the north, which is where you could potentially have a rail station a decade or so from now. So I think that's a huge opportunity. You also have great trees, by the way, downtown, a lot of really old, mature ones. Lots of opportunities to improve walkability, especially as roadways get improved, especially as development happens. One of the things we were talking about in the advisory committee is if you require sidewalks from new development and you have a lot of new development, you pretty quickly build a network of sidewalks. I grew up on Creedmoor Road, and you see that in Raleigh, where it's like sidewalks to nowhere all over the place, and 20 years later, continuous sidewalk pretty much the whole length of the road. So there's a lot of potential to improve walkability as you develop out. Making downtown a park one's place. I think all great downtowns, people want to linger. I was really impressed with Franklinton, what they've done. Obviously, Wake Forest has really grown a ton and changed their downtown, but it's a place where you want to park and walk around. And I think the business owners we talked to really like that idea. Creating a magnet, you park, you move around on foot. And the Armory, sorry, that photo there's the second Armory in town, as I understand it, which is vacant. And yet one of the most ideally situated parcels in the entire town, and could be a place for parking. We also heard the community say, what about parking and a farmer's market there, for instance, or some kind of community facility? You see a lot of mixing of uses in that way. Embracing the bicycling community. 96 is NC Bike Route 2, Mountains to Sea. Could be a potentially big tourism draw in the future. But also just, there's just to the south, a few miles from here is one of the best urban greenway networks in the United States of America. And you have an opportunity to connect into that and then also kind of draw some of that traffic and people who want to live in a place that's easy to bike. So this is related to that. You know, I think there's one creek. I'm sorry.
Richmond Creek.
Thank you. That Wake Forest has built a portion of Greenway and is planning more Greenway. And there's an opportunity to connect in if Youngsville were to invest in greenways into that. And then you start to have a kind of connected network and get down to the new Greenway, et cetera. So a lot of interest in prioritizing connections south to the Wake County greenways. Improving roadway connectivity. I think one of the things that, you know, I noticed when I look at a map of Youngsville is tons of missing connections, right? You have a framework of streets going northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest, and across that are all funneling people down onto Main, but could be well connected as development happens. It's going to be really important with the plan to kind of get those lines on the map of where connections could happen. And of course, one of them where the bypass is already in the works, but we see that as an opportunity. You already have a good network of larger roadways that just lack connection among them. Staying true to Youngsville's history and identity, I think there's a lot of great older buildings in town. Of course, we're aware you just lost a couple of them, unfortunately, but big potential to reuse those buildings, put new uses in them. Ideally activate upper floors where you have them. And this can really add more people, more life to downtown and really help it thrive. There's also, I think, part of the history of the town is the railroad, big part of it. It's part of why the town's here, of course. And so with the railroad potentially really coming back, there's a potential, I think, to build an identity around that as well and to focus on development. And so I believe this is the last one, but I think that you know, leveraging new growth and development to get the things that people want, the things that you all want is an important message of the plan. Someone on the advisory committee said that same thing. People want new parks, people want new types of housing, people want new types of shopping. We're going to get that through the growth and leveraging the growth to make that happen. So I think the idea of wanting all those things, but also wanting no growth are really incompatible ideas. And I think it's an important message. It's going to be, I think, a conflict that we'll have to grapple with as we go throughout the project, because there's going to be voices in favor of both things. Okay, I talked a lot. I wasn't as efficient as I hoped to be, but I'm 3/4 of the way through content. So I just wanted to pause and see if anything is missing. Is there something you would really want us to highlight, underline? What are your thoughts on these three big things of assets, challenges, and opportunities?
I just said that I brought this up in the advisory committee meeting that we had just before this, that one of our challenges is just limited revenue. You know, we are small compared to the number of people that come into town. So, I mean, that's nothing new to the folks up here, but that was one thing that I added to the list as one of our challenges. So that and only being able to control what's in the colored parts of the map up there.
I think a lot of the opportunities going to come once we get our sidewalks and our greenways and different infrastructure in. People are going to want to come and put their new businesses in their restaurants and stuff. So that stuff is going to organically happen.
One other asset that I thought of that y'all might want to include is the strong social networks that we have. The downtown merchants group is very active. There are the sports groups are very active. And so we have a bunch of community organizations that really care about seeing Youngsville be successful.
Well, I just think one of the big challenges we're gonna have is the same thing that Apex and some of these other towns have had when they're near a big corridor like US 1. Everybody that's a business owner wants to be on one because that's where all the tires go, right? So to get them to come into town, it's got to be something different as a niche that we have to offer as a community. And, hopefully with, with new faces and new people coming up here all the time, you're going to have somebody that will extend that wants to come and bring whatever niche market they have to the town. I mean, that's what all those towns have fought against. That's what we're going to fight against. Is keeping them off US 1 and get them back into the city limits. Because we are a transient area. I mean, just start coming here at like 2:00 in the afternoon and drive through at 8:00 and, you're fighting traffic the whole way. And it's, those are minimal people that actually live in the area. They're coming and going.
I think one of the, if I could just react to that for a
Sure,
second.
absolutely.
I think you see communities grapple with this a lot. To me, US 1 is what it is. And like Food Line wants to be on US 1, Target only wants to be on US 1. They have consultants saying 60,000 vehicles a day or whatever it is, maybe more pretty soon. But the businesses people really love and cherish in the community, they're going to want to be downtown. And as long as it's accessible, it's easy to get to, the walking and biking, as you pointed out, are in place. So I think when we think of long-range planning, one of the ways we've dealt with that is saying, that's highway commercial. You can have standards for it and make it as good as, it can possibly be, but then you have other commercial, a mixed-use commercial or something in your downtown that it really nurtures those kind of businesses you want to have. I think that's really important though, because like downtown's not going to migrate to one. No one wants to.
No. And the opportunities for, chain restaurants and
Yeah.
these places are going to be out on the one corridor where we want the niche farmers market places to eat, stuff like that, because that's one of the things that we hear as commissioners is there's not enough places to go to eat and do things with your family.
Yeah.
We can go, we just have things that are outside of the realm as far as being able to take the kids to, and if you've been to Hillridge Farms one time, you've been there 20 times. So.
Taking a lot of traffic coming in, sure.
Any other thoughts? All right, let me move into discussion. Alan? Sure. Want to hop up? As Alan's getting up, because Alan's a more technically adept person. Believe it or not, I know he's got a few years on me. We use something called Mentimeter, which is a really neat tool. And part of the reason to pull it up now is to show it to you, because we want to use it with the community. We're going to use it for the survey we do in December, but also because we want to give you all a chance to do some weighing in. And it's anonymous. It's just kind of general expression of priorities or values or whatever. So I'm going to give it to Alan to go through this portion.
Sure, it's not really age, it's how many brain cells you have left that I've discovered. But I'm showing this to you because I in particular have used this tool in a lot of other communities to garner feedback. It is online engagement. Anyone in the room, I welcome you to do this. I would like you all to do this exercise. It's easy to get on www.menti.com. It's MENTI, and then enter that code. So you can just go to your web browser and enter the website, and you'll see where you can.
It's just easier to hit the QR code.
We just hit the
Yes,
QR.
for those of you who want to do that, you can take that picture of that code, and that'll take you to the same exact place.
This a different code than the one we used a little while ago?
Different code.
Okay.
Yes.
I need to do it again.
So we did this earlier. We'll see if you'll answer similarly to 2, 3, 4. You should, when you're successful, you should see a slide that says instructions, and it'll be in your next meeting.
I'm just gonna ask you a question.
Is anyone unable to access?
We're working on it.
There you go.
You can use your computer if you.
Oh, I think that's what I did. I think I had a question as well. Whoops. I was skipping ahead, man. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Efficiency.
You
That's,
ready?
yeah. Well, no, we're good. Yeah.
So And this is part demonstration, but this is for real feedback. We want to hear from you. We will record this and take this into consideration. In 5 words or less, what are your hopes for Youngsville in 25 years? I want Youngsville to be, and then fill in the blank. You could enter a phrase in each line, like more inclusive or have more businesses or something like that. So it says 1 word, but you can enter the whole phrase, and you can enter up to 3 phrases on it. And once you all start doing that, we start seeing the word cloud develop. This is really good for groups of this size or bigger, where people's feedback starts to come in. People start saying the same thing. Like 2 people already have said walkable, and I think that based on the size of the words that get bigger, as people make the same kind of responses. And they also start ending up in the middle of the word cloud. But these words are important to us. This is just a fun thing. We take these words and we try to integrate them into the policy language of the plan that we're creating, into the goal areas and into the vision for the community. So the more we hear about what people want to see, the more we then start to include that in the plan process.
It's pretty messy.
The results of this are available, and it doesn't just show up on the slide. It makes these graphics, but we have the data itself and the underlying information that comes in, so we can analyze these responses as well. One is like walkable, prosperous, destination, and diverse were 4 words or phrases that were important to people. This next one is, how important are the following policy options to Youngsville's future? And you'll see the dots there, and you're going to move your finger across. It'll tell you a range of importance for each of these line items. So encourage more housing options, promote efficient development patterns, provide congestion relief, invest in transportation options.
I went away.
You already mentioned it, or?
I got
The brain cell thing that you talked about.
I got the code written. 1870, 5460.
Mike said in the previous meeting, he rode his bike when he was younger. We did less sanitized things. Okay, so it looks like no surprise. I believe that providing congestion relief would end up being the #1 thing that's extremely important to people. But this gives us a sense of the varying importance. It gives us a sense of what to prioritize in terms of policy and the plan's regulatory role, but also in terms of the plan's physical plan role of identifying improvements, projects, and other things. Rolling now, the second set here, how important are the following policy options to Youngsville's future? And so we've added another short list here. Encourage a wider range of businesses and jobs to revitalize downtown, protect natural resources, protect historic and cultural resources, encourage efficiency and renewable energy, and lastly, mitigate risks from natural disasters. And so it's live action results. It shows up as we vote, and this size crowd is good enough to be a good reflection of the community when we found it. Adding more people to this experience of feedback, but we're getting some good feedback that's pointing us in the right direction. Okay. And then there's 2 more. This is the second to last. What is another policy area that is important to you? And this allows us to get some open-ended feedback. So if we're not putting something on the page that is a really hot button issue for people who want to give feedback, have this opportunity to type something in their own report. So we got a little bit of feedback from the prior meeting, but this allows for that. And everyone can share it. It's ensuring that the town policies as a whole match the goals of the company. To someone's looking for common. And again, we can just record it. And these responses are matched with your other responses. Every user is like a record in the database, so we can see how people's Want to keep going? I think time here. Last one, how would you invest $100 across the following town facilities and services? So we set that amount to 100, just thinking about 100%, whatever a lot of cash you can think of, but what percentage would you invest of public funds into these various topics? Parks, open space, greenways and trails, sidewalk, bicycle facilities, new roadway connections, water, wastewater infrastructure, emergency services, community facilities, stormwater management and open space, and community support services. And when we say community support services, we mean things that a lot of small towns do, emergency housing assistance, grant funding for home improvements, some public places.
Because I've just been doing 10, 10, 10, you got $57 left, like $13.50 here, and $1.75 on
Yeah,
this one.
and I don't think you can put $1.75 in here, but that's a great. You can put $2 though. You don't have to put $10 increments. You can cut that down into $5 if you want to spend $5 on something. Or you can use those $10 buttons up and down. So it looks like Parks just took the lead over new roadway connections, sidewalk, bicycle facilities are at the top there. So all those sort of tied for third. But you can see how this very quickly, our collective wisdom here around what's important to us gets us some answers that gives us an understanding of priorities in the project and where we need to place emphasis. And oftentimes where we need to ask questions about how to address these issues. All right, thank you for that. We are going to do a community survey. Mike's going to tell you about that in a second. But we want to use this tool to effectively do that for live action in meeting, but can also be put online so that people can do these surveys on their own time in their own space after meetings.
That's pretty good. I mean, it's a good way of getting data without really having to call anybody out, right? Because it's anonymous. So they can speak whatever they want. Boom, and it pops up in real time. So you can address, I like that.
Right. And you notice there wasn't a whole lot of talking going on except for me. A lot of times meetings, talkers can sort of dominate the space. This allows everybody's input to be weighted equally because you're getting responses like this. So it's totally tough.
Yeah, these have become really popular since COVID with virtual meetings. There's a lot of different services. I used Poll EV in the past. I like Mentimeter. It gives you options like what we just did where you kind of have points and you're allocating. It makes it pretty simple. So I am glad that Alan has introduced it to me. All right, let's wrap up. Any questions about that or thoughts? Anything you want to share based on?
So I mean, out of curiosity, so with because I was able to attend a couple weeks back and I felt like it was a very good meeting and from an introductory standpoint, kind of level setting and getting, setting the table, let everybody understand what the premise was, right? Of the walking tour and throughout that meeting, because there's a lot of stuff that we're working on that we feel like we've promoted either via our website or social media pages or whatnot. Because I believe I recall a lot of questions coming up about Main Street that are currently being addressed. So like, did you get a sense of the folks that were asking questions? Had they done research on what the town is actively working through, or was it just?
Yeah, I got the sense that they weren't really well aware, even though I think the town's gotten the word out well. I think.
And that's why I asked the question, can we be doing something above and beyond? Because I don't know, other than smoke signals, a town crier, because I mean, literally it's on our social media, it's on the website. So like, I was just curious to see, like, when you run into a scenario like that in other municipalities or other areas that you're working in, if you get the same kind of feedback, have they done something differently or like, what can we do to be better?
I think one thing I personally think is there's such a just tsunami of information we're all absorbing every day that things get lost or you just see something, you forget about it because you're on to the next thing. I've liked it when I've seen some communities like have a sign, hey, coming soon, your tax dollars at work or NCDOT's at work here, fixing Main Street. I think that kind of stuff is really interesting. Aaron and I were talking about Another thing I've seen in communities is you have a subdivision and you have a street that dead ends into the forest, and it's going to be a connection through eventually. And that's on a plan, and it's known that that's going to happen, but no one knows it. And then when it goes to happen, it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Some communities will put a sign, future connection to Cross Street or whatever. So I think that could maybe be a little way to cut through the clutter people are experiencing is actually, physical signs that, someone would see.
I had a thought on that. Benchmark Community Bank has got their digital sign up. I wonder if we could get with them, and so often you put up a message of what's going on downtown on their digital sign. I mean, sitting right there in the center of the corridor.
I would add two things. One is I was just involved in a successful forum that a larger city put on, but they had about 8 different topics that were talked about. So it was a community wide. It wasn't, we're going to talk about this topic this night and another topic that night.
Right.
It had sort of a social vibe to it. And I think people like coming out and seeing each other. So those live action things can help a lot.
Okay.
And then just pairing this up with something that's fun too is, not sometimes these meetings don't have a lot of fun to offer. But this.
Wait a minute, are you telling me you're not having fun right now?
This is fun.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm totally in the zone. Other people don't always feel that way, especially the ones that you're trying to capture is making them more important. But like this thing will do trivia, so we were talking about doing a trivia night and doing something that helped people, get out and learn something while you're getting what entertainment value out of it.
I think with the survey we're gonna do too, maybe we could have a question there like, hey, what upcoming project are you most excited about?
Okay.
So just use as many opportunities, because you're right. I mean, people are talking, we were hearing so much about something that's about to happen. It's like crosswalks are about to happen, so. Yep. Are there any other thoughts, questions before I go on to next steps? All right, next steps. So we are going to be delivering, ideally later this month, though I know we have Thanksgiving in there, summary of what we learned in phase 1. So things I present in slide form will have nice kind of nicely documented summaries of all we've learned. And I'm sure that's something staff is going to be kind of present, speaking about the project on a regular basis with you all, and you'll be seeing those things. So that's what we're working on now. We'll move into existing conditions analysis and mapping. We're going to be doing population forecasting, things that are really important for setting policies, identifying capital investments. So that's what we're going to turn our attention to in December and into January. We do have a community survey. Our scope of work called for that to be ready December 6th, I believe. We're going to move that up and try to have that ready December 1st. And the reason is, Mayor Flowers, to your point, we want with the big event of December 3rd to have a board or something, someone can snap a QR code and do the survey. So, getting things out in front of people where they are, where they're having fun and want to be is what we want to do. Advisory committee meeting 2 will be in January. Community meetings and visioning workshop will be in February. And so just because we won't be in front of you all for a while, although we're seeing you at the events and that's great. But with the visioning, what we want to do is get a sense from, we want to come away with that, with a sense of what are the areas of the town most suitable and desirable for future development, and what's the most suitable, desirable for preservation as park, open space, et cetera. And also, what are the really key connections that have to be made? It's some visions that communities create are really fluffy words that to me are meaningless. Want this to be a vision that is a visual depiction of a future for the community that people can understand, so that we can get really good feedback. And then what's last? Staff will provide regular updates. So this is just kind of the next couple of months coming up. We don't have any more content. What I had intended was, maybe if we wanted to leave ideas on the wall, we did have some Post-it notes, but they got picked up. But certainly use a pen to mark up on the wall. Or we're gonna be here for as long as you'd like us to be, and if you wanna continue discussing and sharing with us, we'd love to hear it. But, we'll look to your lead, Mayor, as to what you'd like to do to wrap up here.
So you mentioned having the QR code or poster board ready for the parade. We do have the Christmas tree lighting the night before, so I think it'd be good if we had it for that as well, because just better opportunity to get more people.
So December 2nd.
Yes.
Would that actually be considered the longest running Christmas tree lighting too? I feel like it would.
Probably.
feel like
Still
it
have
would.
Christmas tree lights.
Yeah, that you got to view it on your phone. That's kind of takes it out. All right, okay. So I guess one question for me, and again, I love the idea of having the planning board in here because they're right there with it, right? And again, assisting us with trying to figure all this stuff out. Is this type of environment more conducive to what you guys are looking for? So like, does it necessarily need to be at a board meeting, or would it be more kind of toned down if we didn't have suits and ties on and we could kind of go through things on a Tuesday night prior to the board meeting and just really be kind of open and talking back and forth? So it doesn't have to be so stuffy, I guess is, I mean,
Like a work session?
kind of like more of like a work session scenario.
Yeah, I just worked on urban design guidelines with the community, and we did like 2 or 3 joint board planning commission meetings where it was, like roundtable. The board had its meeting and then adjourned, and then we kind of all, and there were sandwiches. It was very informal. So if that's part of what you traditionally do and you'd like to do that, we would welcome that. Today, I think was fine this way because it's kind of informative. This is what's going to be happening, but I'd love to come back and do it that way. Yeah.
Okay. I think we'll make that happen. All right. Any additional questions, comments, concerns from planning board, board of commissioners, staff?
So with the thing for December, is that gonna be something that would be posted and like people could do it on their own time? Okay, we could like print it out and toss it around, not toss it around town, but kind of like you put it up at like Scoops and.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Talking about the QR code?
Yeah, so it's everywhere. Yeah.
Website.
So yeah, on the website, on
Yeah.
Facebook.
Can you give them to like all the businesses in town? They stick it in the window?
Yeah, that's what I was saying, like, just like give it to them so they can do.
And I think a poster at our table or whatever, whoever has a table at tree lighting, and maybe timed pieces of candy for the Christmas parade.
No, we just throw it out on the parade route.
People are less excited about a piece of paper if there's a piece of
Or
candy.
like somebody else with the QR code, the face.
Oh, Commissioner Johnson. Okay. There's an inside joke about that. So we do, we like to toss candy out at the parade. Some like maybe are a little more aggressive than others. So I'm just,
Basketballs.
yeah.
We will use Mentimeter for the survey. So what you saw tonight, it's essentially a survey program. So that's what we're doing. And if there's questions, this is something, we're just now putting the first questions together in the draft to work through with staff next Friday, probably to start talking about it. But if there's anything really important you all think that we should ask, please let us know. We want to make sure. One thing that I think is nice for communities is to get your first survey right, just right, so that you can use the same thing. You update. You're going to be growing so much, you may want to be updating your plan every 5 years or so.
Sure.
You can ask the same questions and track opinions over time. Make it kind of longitudinal. So we want to make sure we get it right.
I think it was a good presentation. I would imagine or encourage anyone that if you got any ideas, if you want to go ahead and share it now, you could. If we've got the kind of whiteboards up here to jot some notes down on and stuff like that. I'm assuming even if it's after the meeting, you could probably handle getting it over to them for the, okay.
So Aaron's the liaison between the two guys. Okay, cool.
A little while longer and then it'll be needed.
Or at least a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Let's just say, I don't think that's gonna happen.
As long as you don't get up too fast.
Oh, good.
We scoped our data analysis to overlap hopefully with when Aaron's out, so it's setting up perfectly so far.
Like 3 days after you. What's the new? What's the new boundaries?
Well, Mr. Callahan, I appreciate it. Do you have any questions or anything for us that we can, I know that it's kind of like a little bit backwards in me even asking that because
Yeah.
you're pouring a lot of information on us, but is there anything that we can help you guys out with? I mean, from a standpoint of any additional resources or just getting the questions into you and letting you guys kind of do what you do or?
I would say, let's do what you suggested, which is a little more informal thing. I think one of the things about, with the advisory committee, we actually had some like ground rules because this stuff can get really tense. What we're embarking on is not easy. And we're going to do our level best. One thing that Alan and I both want to do as planners and communities is not come in from an ideological viewpoint, trying to push our cookie cutter ideas everywhere we work. There's other firms that do that. It's not who we want to be. So we want to really help you to define this vision and the policies that are going to work. And so I don't want it to be us coming in and saying, here's what we think you should do, and it's a rubber stamp. I really want it to be collaborative and conversation and us to all kind of be comfortable kind of grappling with things that are difficult. And so I guess that's just what I would ask is, next time we get together, a robust conversation and we can all kind of grapple with some of the tough choices that there's going to be as we go through this plan. So
I think a great idea would be bring our spouses, like our wives, because they're the ones who chew on us, like, Mike Tyson on the Van Holyfield's ear. So, yeah, it'd be a good thing.
we'll have a focus group with us.
You can have all you want, my man.
Thank you. I really appreciate you all. And we're really excited about working for you on this project. So.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you for your time. All right, we'll move along into item B, agreement for an option to purchase right of way for future truck and traffic bypass from Moss Family. Mr. Page, did you have anything that you wanted to add to that or need to add to that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So there are two pieces here. There's the agreement for the right of way to purchase the future bypass, and then a request that goes before the Franklin County Commissioners to request water and sewer allocation for the Rolling Meadows neighborhood. The Rolling Meadows neighborhood is a fairly easy one to get out of the way, and I don't mean to do it backwards, but the second piece helps inform the first piece. Because if you look at the option to purchase the right of way, there's a large gap right through the middle of it. And the reason for that is because the Rolling Meadows neighborhood is going to build that portion of the neighborhood. So to jump back onto the first piece of the option, at the board's meeting in September, Youngsville initiated a grant application with the Federal Railroad Administration for a grade separated crossing in the vicinity of the Wake Electric facility. As that grant is anticipated to be announced in the spring of 2023, and Youngsville believes we have a competitive application, it is recommended that we prepare to purchase the right of way. And the Moss family has accepted a proposal for an option of $45,000 per acre purchase price for their section of the future bypass. The right of way will be north along the existing utility easements west of Fleming Road, connect to the south at Cross Street, and include the straightening of Cedar Creek to connect to Tarboro Road. This purchase will also be necessary. This purchase will also allow for necessary incidentals to the project, such as site easements or larger pieces for an intersection. And the option to purchase will run through January 31st of 2024. The price immediately for the town of Youngsville is $15,000. And basically what that $15,000 says is y'all can purchase as much of the right of way or as little of the right of way as you want at that $45,000 an acre price. And that's important in this circumstance because the railroad doesn't give us the grant. We don't want the railroad piece. What we may well want to exercise the piece that's between Cedar Creek and Tarboro that straightens that out, moves that left turn volume further down the road. So there's a lot of flexibility here, and what the town pays for that flexibility is $15,000 up front so that we can choose what we want to exercise between now and January of 2024.
All right, thank you for that. Any questions, comments, concerns from the commissioners?
So will that be enough time to know how much of right of way we're gonna need at that by 2024? We will know that through our Campo stuff and.
If the grant is awarded in the spring, my expectation is that Campo will bend over backwards trying to work with us to get all this stuff accomplished.
Okay. Thought I'd be dead when all that happened.
Well, I've never seen them move as fast as they're moving on this S-line stuff. And
Well, we went through this S-line stuff. I don't know if everybody remembers. I think Kat was the only one on the board. Yeah, if they're talking on numbers like they were talking before, and you got a better chance of going up to Tweetsie Railroad and riding. I mean, it ain't gonna happen, but it always, when we have changes of administrations, that always pops back up. So I'm sure we'll be in more of those meetings about how many, 3 or 4 different ways, how we're gonna move this train track and how it's gonna go under the town and yeah, 250 billion for one leg of it. That it probably not gonna work. So anyway, sounds good. Just my piece, sorry.
Oh, no, you're good.
To partly speak to your question, we do have a provision in the proposed agreement where we can extend the timeline by mutual agreement. And so, for the Mosses, the optionors, we've got 6 different parcels in play that are described in Exhibit A. As Nathan mentioned, it may be that, some of them we want to exercise the option for, others not. And there are various, you'll see there's a provision in the agreement for tax treatment of the transaction. Like there are various advantages for the Mosses about like when they sell it to the town, how it happens and in or connection with the other development going on. So, this was felt to be a good initial period because we do have this big application pending. But it doesn't necessarily cut off at that January 2024 line.
Because
We can negotiate.
because for those who don't remember or not commonplace with that, with the S line, that has to go, they have to drive, we have to have a bypass for that S line to be able to happen because you're going to cut off 2 streets. And there's only one way to go through Youngsville and it's on Main Street. And, we've already done the traffic surveys on like Winston Street. There's 20-something thousand cars that go through there. So those cars have got to go down Main Street. So if we don't have a susceptible option for traffic to move in and out of town, we'll have a absolute disaster. Worse than what we've got now.
I think it definitely needs to be noted too that the train cart for Tweetsie Railroad would not work on the high speed. I love Tweetsie Railroad. Okay.
It's interesting.
It would make it very interesting. So again, I think it's in line with some of the things that we need to do in order to be prepared to keep the whole momentum that we currently have with the bypass moving forward. So again, the action requested here for item B is to adopt the agreement. Do I hear a motion to adopt?
Make a motion.
Second.
All right, we got a first and a second. Any discussion before we move to vote? All right, hearing none, all in favor? And any opposed? Motion carries. Item C, resolution to be presented to the Franklin County Board of Commissioners requesting water and sewer allocation for the Rolling Meadows neighborhood. Again, Mr. Page broke into this a little bit. Again, getting water allocation to those guys so they can go ahead and build to meet the commitment that they made to us with the 250, with having the road constructed. Obviously, to me, it's a good deal for us. Puts it on to the county commissioners to move forward with that. But at least, I feel like we've done our due diligence in adopting that. So again, for item C, the action requested here is to adopt the resolution. Do I hear a motion to adopt?
Make a motion to adopt.
So,
All right, got a first and a second. Any discussion before we move to vote?
I do have a question. I'm for it, but, did we put a number to it, or we're just saying we want the allocation for the 250? Is that what
Well, the two,
I know it's saying we want it more, but I don't know if this is putting a number on it or not.
It doesn't. It is largely in support of what the developer would request. I'm sure that they have some number in their pocket that says, you know, we need this many in order to make money in our 5th year, whatever it is. Like most neighborhoods lose money their first years, they're putting in underground infrastructure, whatever. And whatever that math is, they haven't expressed that to us.
Okay.
And in all honesty, the majority of the lift is still up to the developer. But what this does is has very likely, I will go to the Board of Commissioners meeting, the Franklin County Board of Commissioners meeting, and say, hey, the town of Youngsville passed this resolution and we request additional consideration for our neighborhood. We realize that it's not the oldest application, but the town of Youngsville think this is the best application. And then it'll be up to the commissioners to decide.
Thank you. That's all I had.
no, I was going to say, any additional discussion before we move to vote? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
All right.
And any opposed? That motion carries. Item D, amendments to the Youngsville Development Ordinance, Article 3, definitions, Section 17.2, applicability and purpose. There we go. Section 17.5K, off premises billboard signs, and section 17.7-1H, digitally changing signs. The action requested here is to approve the amendments. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
All right, we've got a first and a second. Any discussion before we move to vote? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. Item E, amendments to the Youngsville Development Ordinance to make the language for the town of Youngsville and its extraterritorial jurisdiction, ETJ, cohesive throughout the Youngsville Development Ordinance. Once again, the action requested here is to approve amendments. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Make a motion. Second.
All right, we've got a first and a second. Any discussion before we move to vote? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. Item F, presentation of annexation petition, JJS Youngsville LLC 2022-3. Madam Clerk?
This is the property for the area in the Norfolk Searchy, where they already have a development agreement that will put in some sidewalks. All paperwork and signatures are in order and ready to move forward. The public hearing will be at the December board meeting, and the annexation will be effective December 31st. During the month of December, the property will be sold to the builders/developers that will start moving forward on the project.
Okay, thank you for that. So we'll move into item G, resolution directing clerk to investigate a petition received under General Statutes 160A-31 for JJS Youngsville LLC 2022-3. Do I hear a motion to approve the resolution?
motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Any discussion before we move to vote? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? Motion carries. Item H, presentation of certificate of sufficiency for annexation, JJS Youngsville LLC 2022-3.
Everything is in order.
Everything is in order. Perfect. All right, so we'll move along into I. Resolution fixing date of public hearing on question of annexation pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes 160A-31, JJS Youngsville LLC 2022-3. Action requested here is to approve resolution setting public hearing for December 8th, 2022.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, we've got a first and a second. Any discussion before we move to vote? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. Reports and other business. get to go first. Commissioner Brame, Commissioner Percy and I, we took a tour of Wake Prep a while back, and it was wild being in my old place of employment and now seeing it be in a school. It was actually really cool. I like the messaging that they're doing there, and the expansion of what they're doing with like sports facilities is like insane. So I do want to point out though, that is a Wake Forest address. I know it's in Franklin County, but it is a Wake 14111 Capitol Boulevard is Wake Forest, North Carolina, not Youngsville, North Carolina. Okay, so now that I got that off my chest, Town Hall will be closed tomorrow, November 11th for Veterans Day. So we greatly appreciate all of our veterans and everyone who has fought for us and is, keeping us safe. So thank you for the veterans. This will be the last meeting prior to Thanksgiving. So I would like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. I hope you have a lot of good eats and good times with your family. Don't bring up politics because it probably won't end well. So just eat the turkey and the stuffing and all that good stuff and have a great time with your families. Tree lighting, December 2nd. And there's something else that happens the next day. Oh yeah, the longest running Christmas parade in North Carolina. So I look forward to seeing everybody out for that. I am done with my report. Commissioner Red.
Nothing, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Percy.
I mean, you hit all like 15 points of things going on. After the parade, the downtown merchants are hosting an event as well. So it will be after the parade, stick around, have some fun in town, get to stop by some of the local businesses.
Absolutely. Anything else, Commissioner Percy?
That's it.
All right, Commissioner Brain.
I attended the Economic Development Commission meeting this morning, provided a report on a Main Street improvement project, the plans for the bypass, the efforts we got going forward there, and discussed all the things you just talked about with the parade. There were folks there from Lewisburg High School and Vance Granville who were talking about their new Lewisburg Magnet School program that's going on. So that sounds very promising, and it's going to be open to students throughout the county, and they are going to provide transportation. So that seems like a big challenge to me, as big as the county is. But it's going to be a STEM program open to all the students in the school and any of them in the county too. So that was interesting. There was a guy there from Vance Granville, James Brown is his name.
Okay.
Remember that? And he's really into drones, so he's gonna have some activities for the kids, and they're gonna have a drone soccer league. So I'm thinking of like Rocket League, but with drones. So yeah, all the adults in the room were asking how they could sign up for that. So
Wouldn't that make it more like robot Quidditch?
yeah, there you go.
I watched Quidditch this weekend on the college campus, and I had no idea what was going on. It's a disaster.
Yeah. So, anyway, I just think that's good for the future students in our county.
I would agree with that.
That's all I have.
All right. Commissioner
And
Johnson.
it was not Quidditch, it was Q squad ball or some kind of something.
Yeah, trademarks,
Whatever. Anyway, I spent 31 days in the state of Florida in October, and and it doesn't take very long to drive in your car where you see disaster and families devastated and businesses ruined. Fortunately for us, we live in a county, Franklin County, who has an emergency response plan in place. And that means if they have a disaster in one of their buildings, and it could be anything from a tornado hitting it to hurricane damage to a busted pipe or a backup in the sewage, they have alternate plans to move county offices so our citizens can still pay their taxes or get their titles or tags or any of that kind of stuff. So be grateful that you have folks that are planning for that on a county level. And I know we have it here in Youngsville on a town level. And it takes a lot of people to come together to care about the community to pull it together. Devastation that you have no idea that you could see driving up and down the road. Just be thankful that, there are there are folks out there that go into that situation with a helping hand and go into that situation with the idea of growing back stronger. Those same communities are getting touched right now. It started this morning. And I'm probably going to be in my car driving to some god place in Florida, down the East Coast instead of the West Coast. So, it's very good to have, not every county that we're in has that accessibility, to be able to pull resources and have emergency services available to be able to handle situations like that. We may never see anything like that here where we live, but we always have the threat of something happening. And being prepared is the biggest thing. Being proactive instead of being reactive is the biggest standard that needs to be set. So thank you to our staff, our police department, our fire department, our ambulatory services, and, our day-to-day employees that help run this ship. It makes it a lot easier when you know your community is behind you. And people should feel that way, not only in the city limits, but our ETJ as well. So, just want to say thank you.
That's awesome. Strong words. I appreciate that. Anything else, Commissioner Johnson?
No, I look forward to the parade.
So do I. Got to get our t-shirts.
I got to get my arm warmed up.
It's warming up already. Commissioner Wiggins. All right. Ms. Katie Barber Jones, did you have anything that you needed to make us aware of?
No public business, except I'm glad that we got to present the option agreement to you tonight. That was a joy to be able to work on, and it's very exciting development.
All right. Sounds good. Any additional updates from staff?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just a couple. Chief Whitley is on vacation. As you all know, he usually attends our meeting. So we have Acting Chief Muggsy here. He's filling in and has big shoes to fill, but does a decent job so far. He's been on the job for about 3 hours today. And
I feel safer already.
and then just that the Main Street improvement stuff is going well. Almost all the water line is in. They are actually switching to move most of their construction activities during the day. There are still some things that will require the occasional night, but during the day, they're required to start not before 9 o'clock, and they have to wrap everything up before 4 p.m. So it's a much more limited window that they can work in. But people will see that there are folks out there working. We're not just turning the street into a checkerboard for fun.
All right. Any additional comments from staff? All right, hearing none, we'll move along. There's no need to go into closed session. So item number 10, which should be favorite for most people here, is to adjourn. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Second.
We got a first and a second. Any discussion before we head to vote? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? We are adjourned, 8:28.